shadow work is also light work. These two go hand in hand. This isn't necessarily the way I talk about it frequently. Like when I talk about shadow work, I usually talk about how to investigate these intense experiences that tend to come up after awakening or after like a honeymoon period, repressed emotions coming to the surface, resistance patterns, reactivity, what could be called afflictive emotions like self-hatred, hatred, rage, existential terror, dread, despair. Shadow work is often in the realm of these types of experiences. But I also want to point out that it's just as equally true that shadow work, well, I should say, it's just as equally true that light work is intrinsically part of shadow work. I want to be really simple in my definition of shadow work here, and just say that really shadow work is just observing what was previously unobserved, feeling what was previously unfelt, or maybe not fully felt, and sometimes expressing what wasn't fully expressed. It's really just about seeing, in one sense, what casts the shadow, and having a shift in identity is a big part of allowing us to see how we cast the shadow in the first place. But recognizing how we cast the shadow and continue to cast a shadow through views and through orientation of our apparent separate identity. And then once we see how the shadow is cast, we turn and investigate the shadow. That's a bit of a metaphorical way of putting it. In practical terms, it's not so deliberate. In practical terms, it just comes up, comes to the surface. But I do want to point out that as we turn to the shadow, what we're really doing is we're kind of letting light into the shadow. And the light comes in the form of attention first. That's the first step. The first step is you have to be willing to give it attention, to actually notice what you're feeling when you don't want to notice what you're feeling, to see how dissociation seems to occur even when it seems automatic at times, like to be willing to look closely at that. That's putting light on something that didn't previously feel illuminated. Seeing the beliefs we have around all of this stuff that keeps us dissociating, being willing to see each of those beliefs as a thought and not have them kind of subconscious or partially conscious, such that we don't recognize why we are resisting what we're resisting, why we're misperceiving what we're misperceiving, and so forth. So really it's about shining light into all of that. But again, it's a little more automatic than that, in that this stuff just tends to come up. But understand that the mere fact that you become aware of any of it, like if you suddenly become aware of anger that was repressed, you suddenly become aware of a resistance pattern around whatever, abandonment, connection to another human, resistance pattern around authority, who knows, yeah? The very fact that you have noticed that you've recognized it all is already, the work is already partially done, but it's already indicating that you have the capacity to see it. You have the capacity to acknowledge it, that your attention is the foundation for shadow work. It's the first step. And yeah, any of that showing up is an indication that you've already put your attention there one way or another, yeah? And then it becomes a little bit more about a willingness to not leave. It's a willingness to just stay in the experience for some time. For a short time, maybe over with some practice or whatever, it's over a longer period of time. But just the willingness to stay with an experience. Can you just stay with an experience that you previously didn't even know you had, and then you noticed you were running from it, and now you're giving it your attention? Now can you stay with it? Can you just feel what it feels like to feel angry? Can you just feel what it feels like to feel confused? Can you feel what it feels like to be jealous? Can you feel what it feels like to be impatient? Really feel it. Where do you feel that? How do you feel it? And then once you notice where and how you feel it, stay with it. Stay with the direct experience. Yeah. And, there's no exact order to do this in, but I think once you're able to stay with it to some degree, then it can be helpful to see, well, what are my beliefs about this? What's making this feel afflictive? What's making this feel like something I want to run away from? Why do I believe I have to run away at all? Right? What are those thoughts? And you may notice these very early type thoughts, like formed early in your identity, like, this is too much. Can't handle this, got to run away. You might actually see yourself running away or see yourself moving away from it in some visual thought form. Yeah. Seeing what are the beliefs. This is too much. This is the one thing I can't handle. This is the one thing I don't know how to do. Whatever it is. Yeah. And now recognizing, okay, those are all thoughts. Those are the off-ramps for shadow work. Those are the dissociation indicators that are saying here's a way to get out of this. Let's go up in a thought and think about whatever. Seeing that is helpful because those are part of the resistance. The resistance isn't in the actual sensation itself. And this is a commonly misunderstood point. Resistance isn't something you have to learn to tolerate because it feels so uncomfortable or something like that. Resistance is a misinterpretation of thoughts for sensations. The sensations are fine. They don't need to go away. They don't need to change. It's your interpretation of the sensation, specifically I got to get away, got to move away, got to do something to not feel this, which can become so habituated it becomes a physical thing. It feels rather physical. Feels like a moving away, or it becomes a moving away, right? Becomes a distraction or a habit or an addiction even. Yeah. So seeing that's made out of an accumulation of thoughts and beliefs about this experience. But the experience itself is innocent. The experience itself is fine. And this is where this is real light work here. This is where the wisdom comes in that, if it's fine and I can just stay there, stay here. And this is what I've been running from this whole time. This is what I built a self to avoid. Maybe it's just okay. When you have a first awakening, you realize it's okay up here, but you don't necessarily realize it's okay here. It's okay to be physically embodied, let's say. That intense physical experience, that intense energetic experience of just being alive in a body, yeah? That's what you're left with having to contend with at some point, or to confront, or to investigate, let's say. Perhaps it's what Adyashanti may call redemptive love. But this is where the opportunity to really start to feel love in a very simple, granular, direct way comes into play. This is light work. This is where you see that shadow and light aren't two things. Shadow work isn't just this nasty business you got to get through to get to the enlightenment at the end or something. It's not like that. It's just not. It's just a way of just saying that we are habituated to not look at certain things. More importantly, we're habituated not to feel certain things. But you can't really not feel. That's the weird thing. You're not suddenly not in this body. It's just that you're dissociating from it with thought. So it's also important to see the thoughts around this, yeah? And a part of this is just cultivating an ability to stay in unbound consciousness, which is hugely helpful here, hugely helpful. Unbound consciousness, when attention is in the cognition gate, and when it's in the senses, just pure sensation, non-dualistic, pure, clear, unsullied by any thought or belief, not existing in time or space, but radically intimate, clear, intimate. That's the sensation, yeah? So to see, there was nowhere you ever had to go. There was never a problem. Then no matter what is felt, love will pour into it, or this feeling of total acceptance will pour into it. Light pouring into shadow. And then it's, again, another non-dualistic recognition of, oh, light and shadow aren't two. It's like nirvana and samsara aren't two. Liberation and suffering aren't two. Everything can be here. Everything is accommodated. Nothing is avoided. Nothing needs to be avoided. Avoidance can happen, of course, like as a habit, but nothing needs to be avoided. Nothing is fundamentally accursed. Nothing is fundamentally afflictive, for sure. So that's the deeper insight, is like, wow, attention can just pour into that, stay there fully. No thoughts modifying the experience, no thoughts dissociating from the experience, just pure sensation. So get used to that exploration of how the sensation feels in the body, whatever it's associated with, thought, emotion, and particularly emotions. Of course, you're going to feel a core of sensation with them. All of them, even things that you're not sure are an emotion, like hunger or anything. Just explore, like, what does it feel like to be hungry? Where do I feel those sensations? Notice, is it in the mouth, the jaw, the tongue, the stomach, the chest, shoulders? Where do you feel impatience? Right? Where do you feel ecstasy? Noticing those spaces. No need to run or dissociate. Fully alive. That is really what unconditional love is.